who made these people? I mean, I don't have anything against them. Who made them the arbiter of like what is good strategy and what is not? Who makes certain YouTube hosts or certain people in progressive politics the final judges and juries on what is good strategy and is not? I mean, you could say the same thing for me. You could say, well, why should we listen to you? You don't have to. But there's a certain elitism that I'm hearing in the argument because they don't like Jimmy personally. In, oh no, Jimmy's not, he doesn't understand how movements work. He doesn't understand how movement politics works. Well, let me explain to you my understanding based on someone who's traveled the country over the last 6 years. I've been to 40 states. I don't know how many cities I've been to. I've been lucky, first at the Young Turks, to be able to travel and cover stories no one else was covering. And now I'm lucky enough through you, the community, hint, hint, sign up to support our in the field journalism. I want to show you what I tweeted out because I just, maybe I have a different perspective because I'm out there in the field and I've met so many people. But these people, you know, their snobbery shooting down Jimmy's idea that it can't work. What does Jimmy know? They speak like I've been doing movement building for years and how it works. It's not how Jimmy thinks it works. Well, I don't, no disrespect to organizers and AOC who keeps tweeting about how movements work and how organizing works and movement building works. But nobody has a monopoly on how movements work. And there's no it's also my view on being a journalist. You don't have a special credential to be a journalist, just like you don't get I mean, you do, they give you something to wear, but I think anybody could be a journalist if they want to work hard, if they actually care about truth, if they're not afraid to rock the boat, if they're not trying to climb the corporate ladder and gain Twitter followers, if they actually want to get in the trenches and do the dirty work like we do here at Status Quo. I don't think you only could be a journalist if you go to Northwestern and get a master's in it, or if you go to Columbia Journalism School. I think that's bullshit. I'm very lucky and thankful I didn't, because I think they teach you basically to be a corporate, corrupt, neutral dinosaur. And I don't think you necessarily have to be a YouTube host for 10 to 15 years and have hundreds of thousands of subscribers to be like official street cred progressive to determine what's the right strategy and what's the not. So to me, this is why Jimmy's strategy is right. And I'll just read you. You don't have to agree with me, but this is what I think. And I also think enough already with Jimmy. And I'm speaking about myself too. I brought up Jimmy. But to me, it ain't about Jimmy. Put aside whether you like Jimmy or not. It doesn't matter. Right now, Pelosi has a 4-seat majority, which is what I explained. She has a 4-seat majority. This is math. Okay? So if you have a 4-seat majority, progressives currently have 7 pro Medicare for all House members and 5 more coming. Why not make a demand for your vote, i.e., politics? The whole strategic rationalization of it's a waste of time, it won't pass, is kind of counter to how actual movements work. Again, I've been around. This ain't my first rodeo. I've interviewed activists. I've met civil rights leaders. I've met leaders of the feminist movement. I've met leaders of the LGBT movement. I've met indigenous leaders. Like MLK, Martin Luther King, Gloria Steinem, Harvey Milk. They didn't say, let's not bother trying or protesting or pushing because, we're not going to win on the first try or the second try or the 5th try. It's already understood you're not going to win on the first try, the second try, the 5th try, maybe the 10th try. But, to be clear, will a Medicare for all floor vote pass if progressives force it now? No, it's not going to pass. I don't think Jimmy claimed it was going to pass. But the question of doing it isn't about whether it will pass right now or not. That shouldn't be the measurement of whether whether it's about Medicare for all, any other progressive goal, the measurement shouldn't be do we push or not push based on, is it going to work right now? Is it going to pass right now? I don't know why, with all due respect to Benjamin Dixon and Sam Cedar and Nomiki and these other people, why their measurement is, will it pass right this minute? Will it pass on the first try? That's not, they keep talking about movements in a condescending way, but of course, that's not how movements work. It's okay if it will not pass. I don't mean it's okay. We desperately need it, but it's not, fatal to the goal to get it if it doesn't pass right now. This notion that, oh, that's what Mitch McConnell wants. He wants Medicare for all to fail on the floor, to embarrass progressives. Who cares? That's a straw man argument. It doesn't matter if it fails on the floor. It ain't failing in the polls. It's only increasing in the polls. And frankly, it's going to be increasing in the polls even more as this deadly pandemic kills, unfortunately, more people, leaves their families struggling with debt to pay for their care. People are
to paraphrase Senator Bradley of New Jersey, the state from which your piece was.
Senator Bradley gets much right when he talks.
He does, and he, among other things, and he's not claiming to be particularly original with the observation, we can't get there unless we go together. I have a terrible feeling that behind me are some people who do not agree.
Senator Bradley of the all-white United States Senate said we can't get there unless we all go there together. Sorry, none of us are where he is. That's number one. Number two, you're making a moral appeal to a country that doesn't have a moral conscience. The question becomes that when white people feel serious and angry and upset about abortion, they come out in the thousands up to the millions to say, this is what we believe about abortion. Where is the white outcry against white racism that murders African people all around this entire globe? It doesn't exist. So who are these white good people? I want to meet them. I want to see them. A few is not enough.
But that might be all we can get.
No. And guess what? I don't work with all I can get. What I work with is what I have. Listen, you have to have some confidence in the power of African people amongst ourselves to establish a foundation.
We have.
We haven't. We have utter chaos in our cities, and you've got to
no
see
black
that.
institutions we
You
can build
can have a program. I'm not saying we've built a lot of institutions, and those institutions have not been effective. The majority of millions of African youth in this country are dying mentally, dying spiritually, dying emotionally, dying academically. And you may have a program, Mr. Brown may have a program, but what we got to talk about is an American government that tracks millions of African people who don't go to your program, don't go to Brown's program, millions of African people, not only here, but all around the world. And if we are not honest enough to say who are our friends, who are our enemies, to know what a friend is, to know what an enemy is, we will constantly be trying to get into people's parties, to shake our butts with them, to get them to like us. And that's not the question. The question is, what can we build amongst ourselves to secure ourselves from our enemies so that we will be able to survive into the future?
Mayor Kelly wanted to say.
That's not what I heard from Cornel West. There are lots of oases of hope in spite of all of what Sister Soldier says is true. And the sad and pitiful part of it is that the 6 o'clock news, the 11 o'clock news, most of the media never gives attention to it. And if that weren't bad enough, We know that maybe white America's not going to believe that there are oases of hope where people are empowering themselves, as we have in Washington, D.C., Jackie West taking over her own housing, leading to her own ownership in a community. But the sad and tragic part is that our own community buys into their sense of powerlessness. We surrender to the power of the white man as if we were not the descendants of the first civilization, as if we were not an empowered people. That is the greatest frustration of all.
I never surrender to anybody, but I'm wise enough to know that if I walk out Washington, D.C. tonight, some black kid in Washington, D.C. is blowing off another black kid's head for a pair of sneakers because the institutions that we're talking about, not the things that we hold up to say, look, this is one example. The institutions that we're talking about are not saving the minds of those African.
Well, last week, I interviewed Jimmy Dore about his idea for progressives to withhold their vote for Pelosi as Speaker unless she allows a floor vote on Medicare for all. Take a listen.
Progressives are always told that they don't know how to use power. They don't know how to grab power. Well, they don't have power, right? But the progressives who are elected in Congress right now, I mean the real progressives, not the 100 people in the Progressive Caucus. I'm talking about the Squad, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, Ro Khanna, people like that, Ayanna Pressley, people who are actually have progressive policies. Now they have leverage. What's their leverage, Jimmy? Well, Nancy Pelosi needs their vote for Speaker, right? Because the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi performed so poorly that they lost seats in the House under Donald Trump. So now the margin is really small, right? So just a handful of progressives could say, Nancy Pelosi, we're withholding our vote from you for Speaker unless you bring up Medicare for all for vote on the floor. That's our deal. Now it's up to Nancy Pelosi. Do you want to risk your speakership, or do you want to make sure we have a vote on a basic human right?
Now, I can understand quite easily why corporatists would oppose this idea. Of course, they despise all progressive priorities that remotely challenge corporate power. But I was surprised to see the arguments being made against the idea from some on the left, chief among them, AOC. Now, the entry of AOC into this conversation really started with a tweet from Chargers running back and left activist Justin Jackson. He wrote, if AOC and the Squad don't do what Jimmy Dore suggested and withhold their vote for Pelosi for speakership unless Medicare for all gets brought to the floor for a vote, they will be revealing themselves. Power concedes nothing without a demand. Pretty sound reasoning to me, but AOC did not agree. She responded, problem with this idea is that there isn't enough thought given to step two. The Dem votes aren't there yet, and with a razor-thin margin, the Dem no's are greater than the margin. So you issue threats, hold your vote, and lose. Then what? She continued. In contrast, you can use leverage to push for things that can happen and change lives, i.e. a $15 minimum wage vote in the first 100 days, doable. Elevating longtime progressive champions to important positions of leadership, also doable. That's the opportunity cost to weigh. And in addition to this exchange with Justin, AOC also responded to a Matt Stoller tweet to indicate that actually progressives are demanding things in exchange for their speaker vote. They're just doing so quietly behind closed doors and not on Twitter for the world to see. So, in essence, she's arguing a few things here, and I've seen a lot of leftists on Twitter making similar cases, so let me take each of these points in turn. AOC's first point is that losing a vote on Medicare for all doesn't actually accomplish anything, and there is no plan for what comes next. I disagree, but more importantly, the AOC who fought hard for a vote on a Green New Deal resolution disagrees as well. Look, ultimately, this isn't all that complicated. 300,000 people have died from coronavirus this year. Plenty more are going to be burdened with massive medical bills, which will force them into bankruptcy. 15 million Americans have lost their employer-sponsored health insurance thanks to pandemic layoffs. Medicare for all has never been more necessary, and it's never been more popular. From a political perspective, progressives often get caricatured as focusing too much on niche concerns. This vote would be an effective way to demonstrate that actually progressives are literally the only group in Washington fighting right now for your right to have health care during a pandemic. An up or down vote would also have the benefit of getting everyone on the record so that we know who to primary and have a clear-cut vote to bludgeon them with in that primary. Sure, today, Medicare for all won't pass. But if you make it clear that opposition to Medicare for all spells political death for you, you'll start to see those dynamics change as cynical actors just try to protect their own power. If you don't have the votes today, figure out how to get the votes. Exacting a political price for opposition to M4A is one way to do that. Now, AOC's second point is that maybe there are other better things that leverage can be used for. She points specifically to forcing a vote on $15 minimum wage and getting progressives into leadership positions. First of all, I think we should treat a bit skeptically the idea that progressives were totally planning to hold Pelosi's speakership hostage in order to get other things accomplished, since we haven't heard a word to that effect out of anyone until Jimmy raised this issue. Second of all, Biden and Pelosi already support a $15 minimum wage, which has become a centrist position thanks to the leadership of people like Bernie Sanders, who dared to demand such a thing when that position, like Medicare for all is today, was considered to be hopeless and performative. Now, it would be weird to use your leverage to force a vote on something they're already committed to. On the idea of forcing some progressives into leadership positions, that position does actually have some merit. The case that David Sirota, Ryan Grimm, and Stoller, among others, have been making is that a vote on M4A is actually not enough of an ask. Sirota has a new piece up listing 5 additional ways.
So when you look at how to go forward for the country, as you say, is there any area of coalition building that could happen? There are pragmatic Republicans, as you say. Could there be a whole new way of trying to, get legislation going and cross-party governance going by Democrats and certain Republicans forming a coalition?
Well, you saw the number of Republicans who voted along with Democrats to keep the government open. So there's clearly a common sense, sane part of the Republican caucus in the House. But I think they are intimidated. They oftentimes, say and do things which they know better than to say or do. And it will require us defeating those most extreme measures and the people who promote them in order to try to get to some common ground where people can, again, work together. That's the way it used to be. I mean, we had very strong partisans in both parties in the past, and we had very bitter battles over all kinds of things, gun control and climate change and the economy and taxes. But there wasn't this little tail of extremism wagging the dog of the Republican Party as it is today. Mm-hmm. And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? Because at some point, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen.
And how do you do that? Because you said you have to defeat them by defeating their leader. Their leader
Right.
is Donald Trump. Even you have said that you expect him to be the Republican nominee. How does this change at all?
At this point, I think, sadly, he will still likely be the nominee, and we have to defeat him, and we have to defeat those.
Welcome to a Friday edition of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's poppin', my friends, my family? Welcome back. We have a fantastic edition of the Nick and CJ Friday Show. You guys know we do this on Monday and Friday now. CJ has also been killing it with Daily Show. We had like an RBN super stream. Me and JB.
Yeah, that shit. Nick,
That
when
was
I
random.
came back out, when I got off, I started thinking, I was like, nigga, that was an all-star fucking a stream.
Yeah,
When I sat back and I was like,
JB,
Savvy came in, Ken came in, JB, Nick. I was like, damn, why we
There's
need
a little bit of
song
a
like that
debate
shit was
too.
fire, yeah.
Yeah, there was a small little friendly debate as well. It was a great stream. That's why I had to jump in afterwards. So we have another banger for you guys. You know, Friday always got to bring something good for you guys. We have our friend Jimmy. He joined us today to discuss why the people who was anti-forced to vote should never be taken seriously ever again. And we're going to cover that before. Their arguments against forced to vote has been destroyed by the test of time. Their cowardice has been exposed, and they expose themselves as well as politically naive children. And I would never let them live it down, fam. You guys think I'm gonna forget about this? Hell no. Hell no. Imagine if we had AOC in front of millions of people telling why we have to replace Nancy Pelosi because she refuses to put healthcare for the vote in the middle of a pandemic, as tens of thousands of Americans are dying. Will Medicare for all pass during this? Hell no. But what is our goal? Our goal is to work towards revolution, towards massive societal change. So society seeing Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party reject healthcare, they were willing to accept chaos, having a House Speaker be voted out, in order to reject healthcare. Now, you can argue that Matt Gaetz' action is not landing with everyone, but because Matt Gaetz is fine for bullshit, right? But healthcare is massively popular. 75% of Americans support single-payer healthcare. 1 out of 3 Republicans support Medicare for all. So you will fight for an extremely popular policy while fighting against one of the most unpopular politicians in the modern era, Nancy Pelosi. And they ran away from that fucking fight. You think I'm gonna let them forget about that? You're like, why are you talking about vote? Because people exposed themselves during forced to vote. And I'll pass you, CJ. I know you probably want to chime in. Do you guys think it's a coincidence that the same people who were against forced to vote, they are the same people who supporting the Ukraine war? Like the same fucking circle on the Venn diagram. And I explain this to you guys all the time. There's fake progressive social democrats who have strong shit-lib tendencies where they're wrong on everything. They're the people who advocate not organizing with your neighbor. They want pushing red, brown alliance conspiracy theories. There was the one who smeared our General Strike Summit. They're the one who fought out against forced to vote. They support the Ukraine war. How many times do these motherfuckers have to miss before people view them as active enemies of the working class? CJ, I pass to you. I know you probably want to chime in.
No, that's a good handoff there, because that's my sort of wheelhouse, active enemy. A lot of times we get people when the professional managerial class left, aka the NATO left, when they start to get out of line and crazy, I just literally have to cover them. I'm not gonna not cover that. You know what I'm saying? So there's ebbs and flows where those are a lot of content about them, because there's times when they just get unhinged, and there was a period when they got unhinged about NATO, and we have to go in on them. But the point being, they have proven to be unreliable allies. Like, so when they say, Nick, we agree on 99%, really? Do we agree on it? Because you project to agree on something, you use it as rhetoric, and we actually believe it. So this is why RBN kind of gets, this bruises sometimes, Nick, is because we try to be very intellectually consistent, and sometimes being intellectually consistent brings about truths that people don't want to hear, even people in our own community. But I pride myself in making sure I just keep that sort of honesty. But I do want to sort of pivot and ask you, because I saw your tweet, that Hillary Clinton clip about DPro. It's actually sort of the same.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too. Yeah.
Other side. Yeah. This is the other side of this coin, of this sort of people that are participating in this red-blue fight of culture. We talked about one side, the blue MAGA. Now let's move over to sort of red MAGA, because I could almost consider Hillary Clinton red MAGA. Absolutely, that interviewer. She always gets the best interviews, and she's always pushing them harder to go hard, it seems like she's just the top warmongering sort of cheerleader. But in this clip with Hillary Clinton, it's amazing that what they're saying just out in the open, Nick. In no way do I think that's a Freudian slip. In no way do I think, she's misspeaking. She literally is. They are literally either have come up with a plan or they already devised a plan to keep us misinformed. And I think that's sort of what she's referring to. But I'll pass it back to you for any comment.
There was just a segment released on our channel where I explained the shocking amount of Democrats who support just rank censorship violation of the First Amendment, right? And that's why I want people who are post-duopolist, because Dr. Cornel West is a post-duopolist. He's running outside a two-party duopoly. So we need to take the language that Democrats are fascists and they are as extremists as the Republican Party. You lose people when you pretend otherwise. Because listen to what Hillary Clinton said there. She essentially advocates for re-education camps for people who support Donald Trump. That's an extremist position. At what point do we call out the establishment for having unhinged extremist positions? Arming Nazis in Ukraine is an extremist position, for example. Supporting censorship is an extremist position. Well, half of the Democratic Party believe that we should censor more. AOC's biggest criticism of Facebook is that Facebook don't censor enough, CJ. She have the hearing, you guys are spreading hate speech. Neoliberals
they call it guardrails. I noticed that's a term. Understand they use soft language because they know what they're saying is insane. Nick. That's the whole reason they have to use soft language. Otherwise, you would just say what it is. Because anyway, I forget the point. But
I know what you mean, because that soft language, our mind is decolonized. So that the words they use work in focus groups. You know what I mean? People who mind are colonized generally. These are terms that make their rank violent authoritarian tendencies sound reasonable, right?
Oh, guardrails. I'm sorry. Now I remember. Let me say this point.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll pass to you.
Guardrails. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to get this point out.
Go ahead.
They use these soft language so that the craziness doesn't sound crazy to the person they're trying to propagandize. You get what I'm saying? So they use this soft language to cover that up. So you are a person who says this all the time. We must start using language to actively describe what these people are. This is why we need to move from calling it apartheid to genocidal Israel.
CJ, on that
you get
point,
what I'm saying? Go ahead.
CJ, on that point, the reason why I use the language that I do to describe Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton as an authoritarian fascist, because we should use the same language to describe our ruling class as the ruling class neocons use to describe the United States enemies. Because when you listen to how the United States neocons describe their enemies, when they talk about Xi Jinping, Putin, Nicolas Maduro, they do nothing but project what they really are to them. So they will say stuff like, well, you can't call they use civility politics to mute us. You can't call John McCain a fucking fascist war criminal. That's rude. Meanwhile, they look at Nicolas Maduro like, look at this authoritarian fascist. Like, you guys think Nicolas Maduro's body count is anywhere near Joe Biden's? Do you guys think the police state in Venezuela, China, Russia is anywhere as expansive as ours? Where you have the police state that is responsible for more wealth being stolen from the working class than criminals. Repeat after me, white America, because I know you guys are scared as hell of everything, right? Police steal more money from the working class than criminals do. But you guys think that other countries are authoritarian. No one is more authoritarian than Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. They are the most effective evil. And CJ, I'm going to use the time to transition in our first segment. See, Jimmy joined us in the second hour of the show, so I have a few things I want to cover real quick. Feel free to chime in with a segment if you want as well, because this is actually a great segue to this. I want you guys to understand the Democrats are the most extreme. The most extreme. People are confused about my position when I said I wanted to work with anybody in order to accomplish my goals, right? Like even if it's a conservative who attend my event, a liberal who attend my event, because I view building coalitions and accomplishing the goal as being the most important, right? But there are people that are like, oh, I don't want to support and work with conservatives because they're fascists or whatever. And then they will organize with Democrats. Like, you guys understand, I view Biden supporters as disgusting, especially if you knew his record. Especially if you knew his record. You voted for one of the most anti-black politicians in the modern era who crafted the crime bill and helped destabilize the Middle East, put sanctions regimes that are responsible for genocide all around the world. He was the senator of MDNA, or the credit card companies, wrote the bankruptcy bill, which is responsible for a wealth transfer, which created the situation where black and white income inequality is worse than it's been since the civil rights movement. Do you guys understand? No one has a track record of Joe Biden. Not Donald Trump. There are people that equals Joe Biden. I would say people like John McCain equals him because he was right there alongside with them. Joe Manchin and all those people, right? Like anyone who's been in the Senate, Dianne Feinstein. So this is what I'm saying. They all equal. And a lot of these people work together. The Democrats are the most effective evil. They get things that the Republican Party can't get done. So I don't understand why organizing with people who vote for this criminal is okay. But people are like, oh, you want to organize with conservatives. Like you have liberal tendencies. And your mind is still colonized. You still don't realize it. So I'm consistent, CJ. I view both people as deplorable. Hey, if you want to help me out, I'm cool with it either way, right? Let me go on.
Put that on a shirt. Put that on a shirt. Both Democrats and Republicans are deplorables. Go ahead.
Now, I do got to add caveats because we probably got new viewers. When I say this, I always add a caveat that I have a lot of grace towards people who are propagandized. My anger and vitriol goes towards the propagandists. Goes towards the Crystals and Cows, the Jenkins, Sam Cedars, the people who are smarter than me. These people are college graduates and shit. I'm a college dropout who can barely pronounce words sometimes. You know what I mean? So these people are smarter than us, and then they lie to people, propagandize them, and have them vote for their enemy. So there's nuance there. I have fun on the show, but I do have grace towards the average person for the most part. I just have a lot of anger towards willful propagandists. Now, let me show you guys exactly why people who are Biden shills are irredeemable. So Joe Biden, as I said, is the most anti-black politician in the modern era. Do you guys think he changed his way as president? The guy who took COVID relief funds and gave it to the police? The guy who's arming Nazis in Ukraine? The guy who is weaponizing his DOJ and prosecuting black socialist and communist movements like the Uhuru movement? Fantastic coverage from the Gray Zone. A lot of people say the Gray Zone is far right. Meanwhile, how many social democrats are talking about this? Sam Cedar, is he talking about this? How many white leftists are talking about this? They have a leftist mafia show. Never talk about this issue. Only Yemi never talk about this shit. No one talking about this shit on the social democrat left. Gray Zone is. Jimmy Dore, I guess, coming up is next. But people think they're on the right. I have disdain for Bernie Sanders and AOC because find me a tweet where Bernie Sanders and AOC and the people who are quote unquote on the left talking about this issue. Don't worry, I'll wait. The quote unquote right wing Jimmy Dore did though. The right wing Gray Zone is covering this actively though. I like to just put things in perspective. There are a lot of people who are deeply unserious who just take their politics based on vibes. You know what I mean? I don't listen to those people. Feel free to interrupt anytime, CJ.
No, that's literally it. Vibes. That's literally it, and you can see it most publicly expressed through the campaign to push the Marianne Williamson camp by Kyle and Crystal. They clearly, even when Cornel got in the West race, after all the praise they gave them, they still stayed with them, with her, clearly. But go ahead.
Yeah. I don't think this is gonna be a long segment, CJ. You can do a segment after this as well. Feel free to interrupt anytime. The U.S. DOJ is prosecuting the Uhuru movement activists for sowing discord on behalf of Russia. The activist attorneys warned the case threatens to blow a hole in the First Amendment by criminalizing disinformation. But tell me more about how Donald Trump want to attack the Constitution. You had the Biden administration that lobbied the Supreme Court so the police can legally seize guns of people even without charging for a crime. So thank God the right-wing Supreme Court, CJ, struck that down. Because guess who that was going to affect? Black people. The Biden administration was planning to use the police state to disarm Black people and workers. But tell me more about how Joe Biden is not a fascist. How Donald Trump is worse than him. The guy who literally tried to destroy our Second Amendment rights, our Fourth Amendment rights, and our First Amendment rights. The right-wing Supreme Court, CJ, stopped Biden from doing some fascist shit. How crazy is that?
Sounds pretty normal to me.
Yeah, it is. I'm just having fun. It is actually normal and to be expected. Now let's go to the other breaking story. I got a video coming on this very soon. I have the Biden border wall.
Oh,
hotspot. So I actually got to post this here soon. But the Biden administration waives federal laws to allow border wall construction in Texas. The announcement follows pressure from top Democratic officials to address the overwhelming influx of migrants in the past year. So this was the policy that liberals said made Donald Trump a unique ethnic fascist. The wall. You had AOC doing photo ops at the wall. Now you have Biden, who approved and going to continue the border wall. So you want to know the people who are probably the dumbest people in politics, one of the dumbest people in politics, the people on the right that is pretending that we have an open border, that Joe Biden is just allowing people in. You guys got to understand, there is no neoliberal police state solution to immigration, whether a Republican is in charge or a Democrat. Joe Biden is funding DHS and border protection $6 billion more than Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen. So when you hear Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, Donald Trump, and other dumbass Republicans pretend that Joe Biden has an open border, they are deeply unserious. Joe Biden deported more people than Donald Trump already. And now they're building the wall that Trump couldn't get done. Like Glenn Ford said, the most effective evil is the Democratic Party. And that should be the message that comes from Dr. Cornel West or anyone who's waging an independent campaign. No other message is effective and no other message is as true. And that's why I was telling Dr. West, I'm not telling you to lie, fam. I'm telling you to quote the things that you see in here on RBN. There's a reason why we are blacklisted. They will never allow us on their own social democrat channels because they know we will just quote this shit to them and and delegitimize their entire politics. Now, CJ, this is the clown shit that comes from the PMC left, social democrats, and Democratic activist group. We were stabbed in the back. Jim Crow Joe stabbed you in the back. Are you serious?
Stabbed in the front. And they handed him the knife.
Motherfucker, I invited it, the clown. I invited it, the clown, the serial killer, to my house. I showed him hospitality, and that motherfucker stabbed me in my neck. How dare he betray me? How dare the serial killer? I'm beyond tired of showing leniency to these people. The Sunrise Movement and climate activists put out a statement like Joe Biden betrayed us on approving the Willow Project and other stuff. How many times are you guys gonna do this storyline before we stop taking you seriously? This whole, they stabbed us in the back. The Democrats betrayed us. You guys voted for Jim Crow Joe knowing exactly who the fuck he is. And now you guys talking about you're stabbed in the back. CJ, I think you want to
Nick, at what point is the question then? At what point, Sunrise Movement? At what point, NATO left? At what point is too far? Like NATO left. If he starts a nuclear war, is that too far? Like Sunrise Movement, after the Willow Project, after the other project that was slipped into the debt ceiling for Joe Manchin, I forget, Mountain something out in his area. After the open up the more lands can drill, open up more lands, federal lands for drilling. Like at what point, Nick, is it okay? You've gone too far. We are climate activists. At what point are they, the people you're working with, is literally doing the opposite to what you're doing? And you're still advocating for them. That's the question I have, Nick. Go ahead with this next.
This is why I have no respect for activists who are voting Democrat. Because CJ, what do we say? Well, we had different varying degrees of opinion on this. Like Rome, I would say is to my left, where he says he's completely done with electoral politics altogether. I would say maybe 5 to 15% of our energy should go to electoral politics, right? The rest of it should be building mutual aid societies, community building, and making sure we are taking care of our material needs of us and our community and our family, right? That should be 85%. It makes no sense for you to use that 15% to vote for a party and an oligarch that's going to override the 85% of the activism you're doing. You're a climate activist. You work for Sunrise Movement. You think you're doing great in the world, right? You attend a few rallies and marches. You do some local events. Then you vote for Joe Biden, the Nord Stream pipeline bomber. What the fuck did the other things have to do with anything now? You guys see that? What I'm saying? Why do you delegitimize your 85% of the real activism you do by voting for your fucking enemy? And people like Emma, people think voting is the fucking way you feel, is a statement of your character. No, you are trying not to delegitimize your other work. I co-founded 10 Demands. I am against the police state. I want to decrease the influence of the police state. So how does it make sense for me to vote for pro-police state, cop city loving Democrats, right. CJ? That's completely ridiculous. But PMCs are here to lead you off the cliff. That's the thesis of our being the century at this point. This is beta.
And this is why I always say, let me just say this because you said that about Emma. This is why I always say, when they are telling you, so everybody in the audience, if you're new or you're a drive-by, and that means you just kind of fell into our stream, when you go to listen to them and they say that, I just want somebody to ask the question. Or not necessarily ask the question. Let me give the analysis, and then you can do what you want. The reason they explain that this is for self-preservation. Don't think they're just giving an explanation, Nick. It's for self-preservation because it explains why they're voting for Biden, even though he's against supposedly the things that they really are for. So it's by argument, you're not really for those things. And this is the reason why the left is here, because we have too many people like that who are willing to waffle on issues, willing to make deal on issues because the issues aren't intricately affecting them. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Absolutely, as well said. I'm just showing some more receipts. This from CNN. Biden says border walls don't work as administration bypasses law to build more barriers in South Texas. And by the way, the criminal rogue Biden regime is bypassing 26 federal laws in order to continue to build the border wall. Tell me more about how Donald Trump is a unique factor. Tell me more about how Joe Biden is a threat to the rule of law. I'll show Glenn's tweet here. Almost done. I'll pass to you, CJ, after the segment.
Yeah,
the Biden administration bypasses 26 federal laws to build additional border wall in South Texas. Absolutely amazing how Dems' immigration views and rhetoric radically changed. The second large numbers of undocumented migrants arrived in blue cities. Now do you guys see why I view and have maximum disdain towards the Democratic Party? What is more of an insult? Republicans is openly being against you? Or are Democrats virtue signaling, inviting George Floyd to the White House and giving the police more money? Right? I think Malcolm X has a famous quote warning you about the fox, right? The Democrats are the fox here. So during Trump, in order to increase their political power, they had to pretend they care about immigration, CJ. They had to pretend about human rights in order to increase their political power. They cared about the crimes of ICE. They cared about inhumane immigration law. Meanwhile, you have Joe Biden that expanded ICE. You had ICE was forcing ICE detainees that was on hunger strike and force feeding them. They was on hunger strike because of inhumane conditions that continued under the Biden administration. You had ICE officials that was beating and sexually assaulting ICE victims, denying them medical treatment. Was this 2018-19? Yes, but it's also 2021, 2022 under Joe Biden. Now they don't care about this issue no more, CJ. All the immigration activists on the left, now all of a sudden they love Joe Biden. Now they praising them because we got to make the city safe. They repeating right-wing talking points on this now. Look, government.
So let's go back.
Let's
go back to the point. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll pass right to you. But government's own expert found barbaric and negligent conditions in ICE detention. What's the date on this, fam? August 16, 2023. And this report was during the Biden administration. Go ahead, CJ. You can chime in real quick.
I was gonna say, you see how they're able to flip-flop? Like when somebody's in office, they're for it, or against it, and somebody's out of office, they're not for it. What were we just talking about? Their vote. How it's disconnected. Do they really believe in these policies, Nick? Or are they just projecting? Because that's connected. You see how they're explaining it to us. What do you mean? I don't believe in any of the things that Joe Biden believes in. I'm just doing it because I'm doing it as strategy. It's not connected to me. Really? Because if Donald Trump was in office, somehow you would be against whatever is good. I'm just saying, like the empirical proof, Nick, not in what they're telling us. The actions are saying they don't really believe this stuff, Nick. They don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just like the climate crisis where AOC, we're in a climate crisis, but I'm gonna vote for war in the Ukraine.
Right.
Packages. Right? I'm gonna support the Nord Stream pipeline bomber. So here's AOC at the border and her activism when you had Donald Trump that was that funded ICE less than Joe Biden is funding it now. Deported a lot of people, but less than Joe Biden. But where is the funk that AOC has for Joe Biden for his policy? In fact, they endorsed him. And now progressives are shell-shocked right now because they're like, man, we ain't already endorsed you. You're doing this, making us look bad. What the fuck do you think was going to happen, professional managerial class? When you endorse a right-wing neoliberal a year and a half before the election, what would a decent politician do then? They would shift to the right in order to get the vote they don't already have in the suburbs. If you're already declaring progressive support for them. So this is AOC back in the day, back when she was pretending to care about this issue. CJ, you want to know what her response is now? AOC.
Something establishment. Something establishment.
She went from crying at the border. Now she writes a sternly written letter. She went from calling Donald Trump a racist, fascist, unhinged, authoritarian tyrant. This is all the words that Bernie Sanders and AOC use. And then Joe Biden quite literally copy-pastes and expands Donald Trump's immigration policy. And now she just got a letter. We urge you, please reverse your decision. Switch course, please, Biden.
Oh my God. You see, now let's talk about this is a good example.
Yeah, go ahead.
To bring people out of the duopoly. If you're a person whose top issue or top priority is immigration, ICE in particular, or the border wall, any of these issues surrounding you and your family, this is your top issue. This is what you believe in, and you thought voting for a progressive Democrat would get you there. You need somebody to fight. This is going to affect your family. Oh, here's a letter. They wrote a letter for you. Is that enough for you? Writing a letter, is that enough for you? That's what I'm saying. Like, so you can donate money to these people, or they're powered by not the corporations, but not being powered by not the corporations, and then this is their strategy. This is rubbing two sticks together. The example I always give, if somebody tells you, oh, I'm for what you want. Yeah, I'm for Medicare for all. And you go, how do you want it? How are we going to get it? I'm going to get these two sticks and start rubbing them together. Aren't you going to look at them like, what? Are you really for it? Because the strategy is indicating you're not. Go ahead, Nick.
This segment is pretty much done. Just shows just a few more receipts on my timeline. This is Zinkis. This is liberals went from abolish ICE to build that wall, build that wall, build that wall. You see how when you get them power, they will shift quickly to the right. The Democrats only pretend to care about issues only in order to get political power. They used the death of George Floyd in order to get political power, to increase the power of the police, the people who killed them. And people wonder why I'm uniquely mad at the Democratic Party. You got shit libs like the Vanguard. They're like, why do RBN always attack Democrats? Deeply unserious morons. That's seriously what these fucking morons say. Meanwhile, you got Democrats being openly fascist authoritarians. And then their base goes along with it. They will do a change on the dime following their leaders. You will have Biden voters, hardcore Democrats, that will have hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag abolish ICE. When a Republican's in charge, then the second Biden doubles down his policy. Now these same people are like, actually, Biden has to do this because we got to get the immigration crisis. All of them sound like Republicans. And this is what progressives don't understand.
Exactly what they do.
This is what progressives don't understand. The Democratic voters are, and I'm glad RFK Jr. understand this. Marianne Williamson didn't understand this. Nina Turner didn't understand it. Progressive Democrats don't understand that a large portion of the Democratic base is too far gone. The same way Republicans are. And they will just switch their positions based on the will of the establishment. That's why Marianne Williamson never stood a chance. That's why, in hindsight, Bernie never stood a chance. Because all it took was Jim Clyburn to say, fucking vote for Joe Biden, and all these Negroes in South Carolina followed his direction. That is what we had to deal with. So we advocate RBN is build our own communities, reach out to the 50% voters who don't vote. And if you're a partisan and you swayed by our message, welcome aboard. But not stress on our back. So I'll just read Glenn's last tweet and I'll pass to you. I think it's long, this segment. Last one from System Update. They spent years claiming that Trump's Hitler-esque border wall. Actually, I just want to watch the video. This 2 minutes. I think this is a good way to end the video, the segment. Let's listen to Glenn's take on this.
Whenever I would press liberals to explain what is it that Trump did that makes him a singular evil, considering, for example, the fact that Trump was the first American president in decades not to involve the United States in a new war. He doesn't have any Iraq war invasions based on false pretenses on his record, no torture regimes or rendition or due process denials in Guantanamo. He didn't change the regimes of Syria and Libya and leave those countries as complete bloodbaths and wrecks the way President Obama did. What is it that Trump did that makes him such a singular evil? Almost always liberals will say that what distinguished Trump from every other American leader and that made him a Hitler figure was his immigration policy, specifically his desire to build a wall and to prevent immigrants from entering the United States illegally in such large numbers. That is almost always what they will point to. And the fact that Trump's wall, the wall that he wanted to build to keep illegal immigrants out, was a racist wall, a tribute to white supremacy, was something that was stated over and over and over, not by random liberals, but by the leaders of the Democratic Party, by governors and mayors and leading media allies of the Democratic Party. This was gospel. It was canon. That Trump's wall was driven by nothing except racism and white nationalism and even Nazism.
Yeah, this is good.
But now, lo and behold, it turns out that Joe Biden and his administration are building that wall. They're extending that wall. They're expanding that wall, the very same wall that Trump wanted to build, that Trump built some of, and that liberals and Democrats spent years insisting was a monument to Nazism. And the reason they're building that wall is because now illegal immigrants, people who are undocumented, are arriving no longer only in border towns in red states like Texas and Arizona, and then seeping their way into parts of the American South or into Oklahoma, or even into California, but they're arriving in the cities, the most important cities to liberals, the cities where they inhabit and reside, where liberal elites live their lives. And now that it's affecting American liberals instead of their enemies, their political enemies, liberals have suddenly gone from, we love immigrants, anybody who wants to limit the amount of immigration to the United States is a racist and a fascist, to Biden, we demand that you do more to keep these people away from us. We don't have any space for them. We can't afford to take care of these people.
Dude, I didn't even think about that. I'm glad I found this clip because
that's what's happening in New York. New York mayor just saying this exactly thing. We don't have the resources.
That's Anna Kasparian regarding.
I thought of her. I was gonna say her too. That's crazy.
I passed you CJ because I was.
Yeah.
I
got a quick segment, and just to give everybody an update, Jimmy's flight was delayed, so he will be a few minutes late. Not too late, but he'll still be a few minutes late. If anything changes, we'll give you.
Yeah, funny thing is, he literally just texted me now. He said, "I'm going to be in traffic for an hour." They fucked everything up by delaying the flight.
Oh wow!
I'm in a passenger, so I will log in using self-service to see how it works. Okay, so you may join. The service may be bad. Thank you, people to judge because he had a flight delayed. I've been texting him for the last hour. He's been trying his best to make it. He may be able to call in on the phone, but we wasn't trying to clickbait you guys. It's just unfortunate. Hopefully, we can still get him in. If not, we always can edit the title. But
I got several stories. I got several stories.
Let's make a long show.
I can go. I got several stories because I was actually, I don't know. I just now I know how to do. We've been doing shows so good. Like I got it down to clockwork.
There he is, right there.
He's he's gonna try it. Yeah, I got it down.
We give him a few minutes. We give him a few minutes to get everything set up.
We'll test it out. We'll test it out for sure. So yeah, I have several segments we can get through. So when he give us a heads up, we can go ahead and get started with him. Yeah. But I do want to just shout out a couple of people and read the super chats before we get to this next segment here, and I'll let you communicate with Jimmy there in the back. All right, so let me throw this one up. Thank you for this super chat right here. This is from John. Democrats equal PMC castration. All right, so you see what it says on the screen there. I won't read it. And then I'll go to this next one. This one is from Christian. I think I'm saying your name correctly. Happy Friday. Yeah, happy Friday. I got 5 on it. What's poppin', RBN family? RBN equals Black Excellence. CJ and Nick got me hyped up. And thank you for the super chat. Also,
I'm gonna take this time to introduce our guest, Jimmy. Since we got him here, hopefully everything works fine. I appreciate you for being flexible and trying to make this work. Always good to have you on. We always have Jimmy on every few months or so. Always good to shoot the shit with our friend Jimmy. Welcome to RBN once again.
Hey, good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
What's up, Jimmy? What's up, Jimmy?
Yeah, this is good. Yeah, this is a good time. And CJ, I know you're gonna have quite a bit to say, so feel free.
I'll go after you. I know you got something set, and then I got mine set up. So go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted to invite you on, Jimmy, because as I said earlier, everyone who argued against forced to vote probably should never ever be taken seriously ever again. I didn't have a giant platform at the time, but I was a strong supporter with my small little Twitter and small little YouTube channel. Anyone who had basic, decent common sense understood the basic strategy. So I know, Jimmy, you want to chime in. I'll let you just go, but I want to play the video from Nico first. Let's watch the video. Nico break this down, and then I'll toss it right to get your thought, Jimmy.
It's all right, Elon. We understand why you're looking at Matt Gaetz like the last turkey leg at Thanksgiving dinner, because the entire country is looking at this man like that after he successfully ousted Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. Now, there is a long list of reasons as to why both conservatives and leftists wanted Kevin McCarthy out. But at the top of that list is the fact that Matt Gaetz and the majority of the country was tired of Kevin McCarthy working with Joe Biden to hold the country hostage in order to send money to Nazis. So I applaud Gaetz for sparking the fire of accountability that his party and the Democrats were unwilling to do until he decided to do so. Now, the ousting of Kevin McCarthy brought many of us back to the moment where we asked AOC and the squad to force the vote. Basically, when Nancy Pelosi was running for Speaker of the House, AOC and the squad had the ability to force a vote on universal health care in the middle of the pandemic or stop Nancy Pelosi from being House Speaker. In other words, we asked the squad to hold Pelosi accountable for not governing on behalf and in the best interest of her constituency. You know, like what Matt Gaetz just did. And what they told us is that trying to force a Speaker of the House to correctly implement legislation for the benefit of the people would never work. And therefore, we shouldn't even try it. You know, the same thing Republicans told Matt
Yes,
Gaetz
it is.
when he announced that he was going to oust McCarthy. But Gaetz ignored the 98% of Republicans that supported McCarthy, and McCarthy was ousted anyway. It's almost as if holding someone accountable shouldn't be a matter of whether or not you can gain the political upper hand, but should only be a matter of whether or not it's the right thing to do. All I'm saying is Matt Gaetz got a lot of y'all progressives in Congress looking real suspect right now.
Nico the GOAT, as always. Jimmy, the floor is yours. What are your thoughts on the latest developments?
Well, it was amazing to watch all those people who called themselves progressives during Force the Vote 2 years ago bend themselves into pretzels to make healthcare activists look like they were crazy and make politicians look like they were sober and doing the right thing. Well, they were doing the exact opposite thing. They were refusing to use their leverage, and Matt Gaetz is embarrassing them right now. And of course, they're trying to pretend that what Matt Gaetz is doing shows dysfunction inside the Republican Party. What Matt Gaetz is doing exactly what anybody who doesn't take corporate money should do: be holding the politicians accountable. And he's pushing for reforms. Not only does he not want to fund the Ukraine war, which nobody in the United States wants to do anymore except tried and true blue Democrats, what he's doing is he's pushing for actual reforms, meaning you shouldn't push together a school lunch bill and a border bill and funding Ukraine in the same bill. He wants an all single issue vote. That's what progressives have been asking for my entire lifetime. He made that happen. He's pushing that through. Meanwhile, the Democrats and the squad sit on the sidelines and they point fingers at them, acting like they're the crazy ones. No, what the mask off moment was forced to vote. It proved that no matter how many progressive Democrats you vote for, they're always going to side with the establishment. They're always going to side with their career. As Chris Hedges told us, politics attracts the most mediocre of people to begin with. And these people are extra hyper mediocre because they think party loyalty is actually something the people who voted for them wanted. Of course, that's not what we wanted. We wanted them to be disloyal to the party, and we wanted them to oppose the party. In fact, when she was running for Congress the first time, AOC said she would not vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. And then, of course, people like Cenk Uygur, Ryan Grimm from The Intercept, everybody at The Intercept, everybody ran interference. Everybody with an MSNBC contract, everybody ran interference for politicians and tried to smear healthcare activists. And that's exactly what happened. And we were proven right again. By the way, it's politics 101 to do what Matt Gaetz just did and what the squad was supposed to do. And they act like it was some kind of esoteric, faraway thing that Jimmy Dore thought up. It came directly from the DSA handbook that said we should do this. And it came directly from AOC's own campaign that said we have to have a vote on Medicare for all on the floor. I just saw a video yesterday. I swear to God, you're not going to believe this, of Ryan Grimm and Cenk Uygur saying how they have to now force a vote on Medicare for all.
Yes, I saw that.
It's just these people are clowns. They're being revealed as clowns. That was a mask off moment, and that's why the Democrats hate Jimmy Dore so much, because I was able to expose their bullshit, and that's exactly what Matt Gaetz just did too, which is why they tried to remember he was supposed to be a pedophile and he was supposed to go to jail, and the FBI. Well, that's exactly what they do to people they can't control, and that's what Bernie Sanders wasn't willing to stand up against. They gave him a threat like they did to Matt Gaetz. The difference is Matt Gaetz didn't care, and he went through with his promise, and Bernie Sanders folded like a lawn chair into the establishment. Joe Biden warmongering. He's a war pig now. He's having war protesters arrested instead of being against them. So it's a perfect victory for Force the Vote and for Jimmy Dore, and anybody who doesn't want to see that now is just a partisan hack, and now we know who they are.
We're gonna get to the Bernie getting activists arrested. Before I move on, CJ, anything you want to chime in?
Let me insert something. I have a question. I want to play a short clip specifically about Jimmy, because to your point, this right here. Let me play it, and then it'll speak for itself. Let me play it.
Ask a couple of people I know who are sort of not necessarily directly involved in that, but sort of peripherally involved and might have known about that. And I heard they were going for other stuff. I think ultimately that turned out to be the Pago thing. And I don't that I said anything about it because I still felt like it's not a bad idea to, inject this notion of leveraging the vote. And
So
I think
sorry, go ahead.
and then I think it wasn't until I saw Jimmy turn it into the next thing I saw about it was Jimmy doing a video saying that AOC was the thing that was the person that was standing between us and Medicare for all. She was a sellout. She was a fraud. And I realized
She is.
Okay, so Sam, just to
I was an
clarify,
idiot.
I want to clarify.
So I can stop it there. I heard you kind of chime in, but that's the right spot I wanted to stop for this first sort of question. So this is clearly, Jimmy, the trigger point. The trigger point for the people to go, okay, this is a good idea, but I'm still not going to do it. When you decided, or I guess he got some sort of emotional reaction to you critiquing the squad. So evidently you got tipped off, or there was some indication that the squad was not going to do this, or at least AOC, and you had a critique for that. And then I guess he got wind of this critique. And he said, oh, no, if you're going to use this great strategy to get health care to attack the people that I like, then I can't be for it. How do we be in coalition with people like that, Jimmy, to get Medicare for all? Because they always say we agree on it and they want to get it. But how do we coalition with people that would do something like this?
I'll coalesce with anybody who it was for Medicare for all or for pushing the Democrats and pressuring them. Cenk Uygur made that same argument that he was for force the vote until Jimmy Dore said something mean about him. And then he decided to abandon Medicare for all because Jimmy Dore was mean. Hey, if you don't like Jimmy Dore and you didn't like Jimmy Dore's ask, why don't you do your own version of force the vote, Cenk?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you do that? Why? He said we could have had we could have passed $15 minimum wage. They already passed $15 minimum wage in the House. It was the Senate. So we didn't have to force a vote on that. They already had passed it. So they're just making up stuff and flailing, and they look like the frauds that they are. If you have an MSNBC contract, if you take $24 million from DNC donors and Clinton donors, you're going to have to lie a lot about what you're doing, because what you're actually doing is you're being controlled opposition. And that's why we have infiltrators in the left. And that's exactly what this reveals, that all those people who pretend to be for the progressives are actually infiltrators and controlled opposition. Absolutely. Because they take money from the people they're supposed to be organizing against. And this was a perfect mask off moment and a perfect reveal. They even said Cenk and MSNBC contract said that McCarthy could become speaker, even after it was already explained to them time and time again. So they were just flat out lying. They have no credibility. They have no integrity. They have no dignity. Why? Because they're corporate sellouts, 100%. And this reveals it. And this is also why we can't have anything nice on the left, because people actually think these people are lefties. Cenk Uygur and TYT is for Russiagate. They repeated CIA talking point smears against Julian Assange. They're for every war. They're against the homeless. They are union busters. What the fuck makes these people lefties? They're not. They're just corporate toodles and mouthpiece, willing, and they're doing it for money.
He said he paid it back, Jimmy. You believe he paid back? He paid back $20 million? Yeah, go ahead.
Can I make a statement about that? So he obviously made that up on the spot because he didn't have a lie to cover that. And why do I know that's a lie? Because that wasn't a $20 million loan. That was a $20 million investment in that company, which is why he is now a part owner of that company. And he has a guy who sits on the TYT board. So there's a couple of billionaires who have representatives that sit on the board. So Jeffrey Katzenberg has a board member at the TYT, just like Buddy Romer's hedge fund has a board member on TYT. So there's no idea. This is all bullshit that he paid back a loan. He didn't pay back anything. It wasn't a loan. It was an investment. So that's another lie. And so he made so many lies that his last appearance with Brianna Joy Gray that you couldn't keep up with them.
Yeah, you couldn't keep up with them. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, your assessment is exactly what on RBN we tell our audience, and we have the coverage that make it clear that these people are the enemies of the working class. They openly lie to their own audience all the time. delegitimize himself in order to repeat Democratic Party talking points. Forced to vote was a very eye-opening moment because that was it's go time. Like, so we can have like small disagreements before then, but if you went during go time, you're like, okay, we may have disagreements, but at least you're willing to fight. But that exposed they wasn't willing to fight with us. Then we had a Jones Strike Summit. Jimmy was there.
Mm-hmm.
None of the professional managerial classes wanted to participate, right? We had Worker Strike Back invited me there, Kashama Sawan. I gave a speech at Worker Strike Back. You want to know how many Social Democrat channels covered that? They didn't cover it because they didn't want to give me attention because I gave a speech there. Now Nina Turner launched a Democratic version of Worker Strike Back, and now they all losing their mind.
So there was Medicare for All marches that summer after Forced to Vote also. And every city, 50 large cities in America, and Nina Turner went to a fundraiser instead of going to one. Same thing with AOC, same thing with Bernie Sanders. They went to fundraisers or ignored it. So these people are frauds, 100%. And it was a mask-off moment, and it broke my heart to see Bernie Sanders turn his back on Medicare for All, and for Nina Turner to turn her back on healthcare activists, smear them, and lie about it, and then not even show up for it. It was a real moment to see who's a self-dealer and a liar, because they all are.
Yeah, RBN.
Even Chomsky. Even fucking Chomsky.
Yeah, that guy.
You see, Chomsky is doing a masterclass on fighting disinformation. I don't got the segment ready. I'm gonna do one on that soon. He went from manufacturer consent to don't ever question the establishment information. I got a statement. I don't got it ready yet. I'll do a statement on that maybe later. I want to show you guys this here. But your point regarding the March for Medicare for All, we had 5 people that gave a speech at the March for Medicare for All at the RBN network. Rome organized the Detroit March for Medicare for All event. None of them attended. None of them would attend. None of them would promote it. And then they wonder, why did we view them as enemies? Why do we view them as enemies? Jimmy gave a speech at the March for Medicare for All, right? So to me, it's very simple how you make this calculation on who's on your side or not. Do we agree with everything Jimmy say? Not exactly. But is he with us fighting against the establishment? Absolutely. The Social Democrats on the other side, on the other hand, they're fighting with the Democratic Party. I'm gonna play this clip. I got just a few more here. The establishment now is using the Kevin McCarthy drama in order to prop up the legacy of Nancy Pelosi, and in doing so, they are shocked and astounded at how cowardly the squad actually was. Because I don't know if all these people knew the strategy of Forced to Vote because they are corporate and not in our bubble, right? So they see what Matt Gaetz did, so they come into a realization like, holy shit, the squad could have did this to Pelosi, and they did it. So I'll show this clip and I'll get your response. I got just one more and I'll pass it back to you, CJ, and then we move on.
Sure.
I think Will had the tweet of the day, actually, where he tweeted and he underscored that Speaker Nancy Pelosi, when she was Speaker, had the exact same very slim margin that Kevin McCarthy did. And for all the hemming and hawing that a number of progressives did do privately, nothing like this ever happened while she was Speaker of the House.
And we hear all the time the far right and the far left, but even the most progressive members of Congress, Simone, you can't point to anything that they're simply trying to blow up the system, cause chaos, bedlam, or paralysis, which is exactly where the House is right now.
I think this shit should be embarrassing for the squad. Or any elected progressive. Jimmy, what's your take? I'll pass it to you and CJ to react to this real quick before we move on.
Yeah, the AOC and the squad are bragging about the fact that they're in lockstep with the Democratic Party leadership, that they're not going to cause chaos. They're not going to try and disrupt. They're not going to push for reforms. They're going to fund wars. They're going to ignore people at home. They're going to get behind, they called Trump a fascist when he wanted to put up a border wall. Now Joe Biden's doing the exact same thing and wrecking 26 environmental regulations to do so in the press. They're not going to call him a fascist. They're going to go along with it. So again, I'll throw it over to CJ. It's a joke. They're a joke.
Yeah.
I do. I want to bring up a tweet from Jimmy. I love when Jimmy, when you quote tweet one of the NATO left. It doesn't matter whether it's Sam Cedar or Cenk Uygur, but it seems like the ones that you have with Cenk Uygur are the ones that are most entertaining to me. And I'm gonna bring up one of them right here. Not necessarily entertaining, but I do like the point that you make. Why is it not popping up here? Hang on a second, guys.
It's all good.
Yeah, okay, here it goes. My bad. My computer's running a little slow, but here is the tweet. So recently, Jank had recently tweeted out this: if the Democrats vote with McCarthy, they have to ask for something that's actually going to help. Say again.
Oh, there
It's
it
not
is.
showing
It's
it?
on the screen now.
Oh,
It's on the screen now.
I'm sorry.
My bad.
If the Democrats vote with McCarthy, they have to ask for something that's actually going to help the American people, not just more earmarks and privileges for themselves. As for a vote on paid leave, it polls at 84%. There's no reason why we can't pass it. And then here is you catch wind of the tweet, Jimmy, and you say this: Jank is now advocating for the Democrat strategy of force the vote. He's hoping you forget he lied about it and sided with crooked politicians for slandering grassroots activists when the Democrats actually had power to do it. Fraud Squad. What is your reaction, Jimmy, to just some of their reactions, Sam Cedar and Jank in particular? Because subsequently, since Force the Vote, those two have been talking about it, and what has been your what is your reaction to some of the things they've been saying subsequently about Force the Vote?
My reaction is right there. I just reminding people that they're what the people who opposed Force the Vote did. I don't look at their rhetoric. I look at their actions, and their actions said that they sided with crooked politicians while they were smearing healthcare activists. And when we were asking AOC and the squad to do exactly what they campaigned on, the whole point of the Justice Democrats not taking corporate money is so they could do something like Matt Gaetz just did, and they refused to do it. So there's absolutely no point to the Justice Democrats. There's no point to the squad, and there's no point to people like Cenk Uygur or TYT or MSNBC contract, because there's already an MSNBC. There's already a CNN. And so now we have another one in Breaking Point with Crystal and Kyle.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. They're just like that. They've all sold out to the establishment, which is why we have to expose these people so they don't get their hooks into real progressives. Real progressives smell a rat, and I smelled it a long time ago with these people, and now they're exposed 100%. And of course, all they can do is lie and try to make it about Jimmy Dore. It was never about Jimmy Dore. It was always about the running on the strategy that AOC and the squad and the Justice Democrats advocated for when they were campaigning. It's not about me. It's coming straight out of the DSA handbook. But they have to make it about me because I'm an incendiary political figure. Why am I incendiary? Because I actually held politicians' feet to the fire and exposed them, and they want access. That's exact. Look at the people who are interviewing these people. That's all they need is a steak dinner and an interview, and they're bought off. It doesn't take much.
Steak dinner. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Nick.
the last portion I have on the Force the Vote segment, I want to get Jimmy's reaction on Bernie arresting anti-war activists. That's the next thing I'm gonna cover. But before that, I'm gonna show you guys this, because one thing that Bernie and AOC defenders say to me all the time, there are less and less of them these days, right? But what they used to say, they used to think we made up expectations of them. They were like, well, you criticizing them because they won't force the vote. You criticizing them because they're not doing this, they're not doing that, because they're not following all your directions. And what I am doing, I just want them to follow the promises. I didn't project anything on them at all. And that's what they will say. They said we project stuff on them that they never said. And that's the new way to defend the squad. But only thing I asked them to do was stuff that they said. For example, Bernie said he's going to start a political revolution. A political revolution. So it's not my fault when I misinterpret that, Jimmy, CJ. I think you want to start a revolution when you say shit like that.
You weren't You weren't misinterpreting Bernie. Bernie was just lying. He was never real. He was always a sheepdog for the establishment. He was always been a war pig. He's a war pig through and through. He smears peace activists. He smears healthcare activists. The guy that there's nothing worse than a wolf in sheep's clothing, and that's what Bernie Sanders is. That's what the TYT is, and that's what the Justice Democrats are. They're all wolves in sheep's clothing, and I'd rather have a wolf in wolf's clothing because then we can fight them.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we get to
Amen
Bernie
to
next.
that.
That's probably my fault for triggering the Bernie rant, but let's get to the LC now. That's my fault.
It's hard not to. Just say the name.
It's hard
Just
not
say
to.
the
I
name.
can't
It's hard
stand that
not to.
motherfucker now, man. But this is Glenn Greenwald accurately debunking this bullshit that we projected something on them that they never said they was. Here's Glenn. AOC, as she does on a virtually daily basis these days, boasts what a good, loyal Democrat she is. I guess I should read this tweet first. I'll read the tweet that prompted this. And I think this is what you mentioned as well, Jimmy. And this is what she tweeted 2 days ago. I tell you, in 2019, Dems had to elect the Speaker, oh Jesus Christ, and the numbers were tight. It was my first time voting on the House floor. When my name was called to vote, all the GOP looked at me when I voted for the Speaker. The party under McCarthy's leadership booed me. Run the tape. So there she is, bragging about being a fucking obedient. Before I read Glenn's tweet, Jimmy, CJ, would you guys have any reaction to that? Because that's actually crazy. Where she just sent this tweet out, where she just brags about being a loyal foot soldier to the Democratic Party. But anyway, I'll play this.
Just the phrase "run the tape" is like you just saying like I dropped the mic, like you did something good. It's truly astonishing rewriting the history that this person is doing right here. But go ahead.
So I'll just play this this tweet where Glenn is calling us out. She boasts about what a good, loyal Democrat she is, now proudly recalling she voted for Pelosi. Except in 2018, while running, I asked her would she vote for Pelosi. So let's see what she says.
Very deep level.
So we just have a little bit of time left. Let me just ask you a couple of what I hope are quick questions. Your opponent, Congressman Crowley, has been pretty upfront about his hopes to replace Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer in the Democratic top wing of the Democratic leadership once they retire, or maybe even before that. For as long as I can remember, the Democratic Party in the House has been led by Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer. So if you are elected, will you agitate for different leaders leading the Democratic Party in the House caucus, or do you think that Pelosi and Hoyer should continue to be in those leadership positions?
No, I think that we need new leadership. I think the idea that we should have the same leadership for more than one generation is probably a mistake in American politics in general. When I think about my opponent trying to take Nancy Pelosi's seat, it's like, why? Like, what has he done? And I think that what we need,
the ability just to lie like that, man. This is a sociopath, psycho, whatever one that's technically correct term.
Need to really look at and value. It goes back down to the idea of valuing fundraising and equating fundraising with leadership. And they're not the same thing. I think that we really need to start kind of changing our standards for leadership and what we define and what we respect as a party. And it's not to say that, it's not to speak to Pelosi's leadership, but it's to say, what company oftentimes has the same CEO for 20 years, or, it's very rare that happens. And what government has the same president for 20 years. And the idea that the third most powerful seat in the country should just be rotated in and out by the same two people for generations, I think is a mistake in our government. Government is.
Now, I like to make fun of myself, but this is why I advocate grace, because was we so wrong to support this person? You know what I mean? I want people to understand that Bernie and AOC committed a massive fraud on the working class that still a lot of people haven't even comprehended yet. But I spoke enough. Jimmy and CJ, I get that reaction.
Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
They continue to take millions and millions of dollars from working class people and then use it to fund Ukraine while they do nothing for working class people. In fact, they use their rhetoric and they use their position to prop up Joe Biden who's a strike buster, and he came out directly against working people. Everybody trying to memory hold that Joe Biden crushed the railroad workers strike, the railroad, which is the glue that holds capitalism together inside the United States. And if they would have went on strike, it would have set the tone for workers coast to coast, and they can't have that. So that's why they made sure that they were good little boys and girls, and they marched in lockstep to crush that union. So they all did that, by the way. They all crushed that union, including AOC and the Squad and the Justice Democrats and Joe Biden. And now they're still taking money from working people to prop up Joe Biden and his warmongering machine. And it's just despicable. It just if there was ever a moment for people to reject the two parties and to reject Democrats, it's now. But they keep selling that lie, just like Cornel did when he says that Trump is a fascist and Biden isn't. Joe Biden is the greater evil, and I'm not the first one to say that. I'm quoting radical black activists who said that in front of me, that the Democratic Party is not the lesser of two evil. They can do stuff that the Republicans can't. And if Donald Trump was trying to ramp up a war with two superpowers at once, everybody would be screaming with their hair on fire. But because it's Joe Biden and the Democrats, and they have the blessing of Bernie Sanders and AOC and the Squad and the Justice Democrats and the media, everybody's silent. Where is the outrage? Even Code Pink is afraid to stand with Republicans who are against funding the Ukraine war. They'd rather go to a fundraiser for AOC and not say a goddamn thing, which reveals them to be frauds and cosplaying. That's all they are. So I don't remember what the question is, but
I had the same critique. I had the same critique, and I just was talking about this a couple of days, maybe even if not yesterday, 2 days ago, where like Code Pink, they do some good work, and we hope. But I always ask the question. Somebody said in the chat, how come they're always getting into all these places around these places so comfortably? Like it feels like it's almost like pretend. And I don't want to downgrade any work that Medea Benjamin may have, but that's just not a good look. You want to be welcoming to people. That is not a good look. Because think about the people who Marjorie Taylor Greene could reach. You mean to tell me you don't want her audience, her supporters, to be on your side of being anti-war? It doesn't make strategically. It doesn't make sense to me. But go ahead.
Now, one
Jimmy
thing I would say is that this is not a reflection of Medea Benjamin at all.
Right.
According to what I heard, like she has no sway with this organization anymore. She's retired. She's on the board. Medea like always resists like the shit-lib tendencies of this group, and it's good that they support war. And I have defended them whenever they are attacked by imperialists and neocons, but we also got to hold them responsible and accountable for just general bad strategy and divisive tactics, right? So their whole protest was all about, oh, we got the Ukraine war. This is existential. There's World War III that's about to start right now. And then right wingers like, hey, hell yeah, this group is based. I want to help you guys end World War III. And then Code Pink like, no, not you guys. I don't want to work with you guys in nuclear war. That shit is deeply unserious to me. Jimmy, I know you want to chime in. Go ahead.
Can I say I saw a tweet from Due Dissonance yesterday saying that 8 Republicans did more for the anti-war effort in one day than Code Pink has done in the last 25 years. And I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Hey, it's facts. It's true because they slowed down the Ukraine war funding. And many the more young liberal-minded Code Pink people, they still have liberal Democrat Party apologia. And the reason why I put back on this because this is Democrat Party apologia. And I'll read the tweet before I get into that for people who haven't seen it. And they said there has been some confusion about an image that was taken with Code Pink volunteers, Marjorie Taylor Greene, where Marjorie Taylor Greene opportunistically approached our volunteers. You mean support your action? In a parking lot on the Hill, and she requested they take a photo together. So what I did when I first covered this, we use this as a rhetorical tool to advance our interests. So what I said, without even praising Marjorie Taylor Greene, is how do we have Bernie Sanders arresting anti-war activists while we have far-right extremists like Marjorie Taylor Greene stand with us? Like you guys said, you can use this as a rhetorical tool for you, while also building a coalition of people that need to address an issue. You think you're going to end the Ukraine war with only liberals? What the fuck is the implication
This
here?
reminds
That's so
me.
unserious.
This reminds
Go ahead,
me.
go
Of,
ahead.
this reminds me of about about 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I saw somebody tweet out, "Hey, what are we supposed to do when Trumpers want to join our union?" And I said, "You declare victory, you fucking idiot. That's what you do."
Yes. I swear to God, I told you guys,
I don't
we have
understand it. I really don't understand
we
it.
have
Go
a
ahead, Nick.
manufactured left that is designed to lose. Like, the idea is that you want people, no matter what their ideology, to support you. Turning away people who support your action is ridiculous. And I love that. I made a lot of shitloads upset when I was criticizing them. I love it. I'll tweet something now. I'm all for the funk. I'm willing to challenge anybody on this. So let me read this. I'll make my argument. So do your organization really think, this is what I said in response. So do your organization really think you're going to have a successful anti-war movement with only liberals? So many people on the left view activism as some sort of social club that replaced high school.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is literally what it is. And it shows. I don't give a fuck if we get along and we like each other. If you want to end war, we end the fucking war together. We going to war to end war together. That's what it fucking means. These people miss high school. The high school is the prime of their life. So now they want to build a social club, and that is what activism is nowadays. And I don't give a fuck how much funk I get from these people. I reject that wholeheartedly.
So
I know you want to
can
try to go ahead.
Can I make one quick point? So in Ukraine right now, the people who are most pro-war are the Nazis, right? In Ukraine, along with NATO. But so let's say a bunch of the Nazis decided they were done fighting because they're getting wiped out and they want a peace agreement. What that means is you have to join with those Nazis to have a peace agreement, because you're going to have to join with them eventually, because they're the ones you're going to be negotiating with for a peace deal. And if they want a peace deal, you have to then join with them. You fucking idiots.
Hey, Jimmy, you want to know how unserious these people are? Lula in Brazil, who's been calling out the NATO war, help expanding BRICS. You know, a large amount of his constituency are Black evangelical socialists. So in Brazil and in the global South, there are socially conservative socialists. That's why Lula has to appeal to socially conservative groups. He got criticism from the left for being weak on stuff like abortion, for example. Why? Because he has to appeal to evangelical socialists. So in America, Jimmy, these people, the NATO left, the boutique left, be like, we won't work with Lula supporters. We don't want to work with the Black evangelical socialists in Brazil because they don't have the right position on abortion and gay rights. So are you not working with the global South socialists? Where do you draw the line? Go ahead, Jimmy.
So so that shows you that those people aren't serious about organizing. They're not serious activists. They look at politics exactly as you said, as another extension of high school, and it's just another a social club for them. They could be in square dancing, they could be in a ski club, but they decided to be in a quote unquote anti-war club or whatever it is, and it's just bullshit. So that's right. You have to meet people where they are, and you have to organize around single issues. And if you want, just like I said with Christian Smalls did on Staten Island, the way you organize is you go, hey, who's here wants to join with me, because we're all being screwed over by the man economically, and who wants to join together to oppose the man on economics. You don't go to the shop floor and go, who here's a Boogaloo boy? You're out. Who here's a Proud Boy? You're out. Who here doesn't support trans rights? You're out. Who here's a gun nut? You're out. Okay, who's left? Now that's not how organizing works. That's not what Christian Smalls did. And that's why they never invoke Christian Smalls, and they never want to talk about his example, because they're all phonies and liars. And that's why we can't have anything nice on the left, because they're all infiltrated. They're all controlled opposition. And that's what this is. And that's why they hate people like you. That's why people like Ryan Grimm and MSNBC Contra, they recognize you because you're speaking truth, and the only thing that can cut them off at the knees is truth. And that's what you're doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what real activists are doing. That's what real radical Black activists are doing. And when we do that, they call us Trumpers. They call us crazy. They call us nuts and like flailing and all that stuff. And that's because they are mouthpieces of the establishment willingly. And I guess it just, again, this is such a big mask off moment from forced to vote until now, and it's not stopping. And I'm ready for a real revolution. Bernie Sanders stopped talking about revolution in 2017 after he got his mind right and he endorsed Hillary Clinton. He stopped talking about revolution. So it's all over. It's not going to come from your leadership. It's got to come from the grassroots up. And that's why they had to demonize the truckers in Canada as right-wing Nazi white supremacists, because that's the thing that actually works. When you get your trucks and you shut down capitalism, then they have to deal with you. And the way they dealt with it was they called them Nazis, white supremacists, and they shut down their bank accounts. They treated peaceful protesters like terrorists, and that's what they're going to do to us, and that's what they're going to do to anybody who actually figures out a way to protest the man, the establishment, and the oligarchy. They're going to make us, well, Barack Obama signed the NDA 1021 in 2011, which, what did that do? It took away habeas corpus, which means that they can arrest you and they don't have to give you a trial. All they have to do is say you're a terrorist. And so when you go, just if you oppose the DAPL pipeline, they say you're an eco-terrorist, just like they're doing to the Stop Cop City. They're using the RICO statute, which was written for the goddamn mafia, and now they're using it against people who are protesting the expansion of the police state. And it was so disappointing to see Cornel West pretend not to see the connection between the Democrats using RICO against their political enemies like Trump and using it against their political enemies like Stop Cop City. That was such a disappointment and a letdown, because he knows there's a connection, but he doesn't have the courage to say it and speak out about it, which is why he's an ineffectual candidate. One of the reasons.
Yeah,
So
go
ahead. Go ahead. No, if you want
I
to,
just have one more thing, because I'll pass it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, this statement went a little long, but I just have one more last thing to cover, and then you can finish our segment with Jimmy. I don't want to keep you any longer than an hour, Jimmy. So I just got a segment or two, and then we get you out of here. And this is regarding my co-ping point. There are a lot of breakdown. I'm going to ask you about revolution here soon as well. This is co-pink in a nutshell. Like, you guys, I'm going hard, and there are people fucking furious at me right now. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. But this is what I'm saying. This is co-pink. The Ukraine proxy war is provoking World War III. It's crucial that we organize and stop the war. Do you have a right winger? Hell yeah, I agree with you. Let's find a way to stop it. No, I don't want to organize with you. You just said that we're in a crucial moment where we got to resist World War III, but you want to cut the movement in half? The fuck? And I said a bunch of morons who don't understand you build coalitions to solve issues. So is Marty Taylor Greene pro-war Mexico and other issues? Yes. You call them out when the opportunity arises, but you form a coalition to end the Ukraine war. Nothing else is relevant. And I'm tired of morons pretending they don't understand how coalitions work. If I'm going to work with a conservative to increase housing, to make housing more affordable, I'm going to disagree with that conservative on other issues. Those other issues don't matter if we were fucking working on housing. The same thing applies to Ukraine. You fucking idiots. We will resist them on China and Mexico later. Let's work together to end Ukraine. How is that so hard for you fucking morons to understand? I got all the phone.
Because it's a social club. It's a social club. They don't understand politics like that. Politics is with their friends. We're going to events. Let's go do a march. Come on, guys. That's to them. So when you say, what do you mean? I'm doing politics with somebody who I don't hang out with? That is so foreign to them. They don't understand that type of power, I would say.
I want to say this, because I want to wrap this up. I apologize for going long, TJ, but this is the most important part, guys. Because what do actually serious people say? And sometimes even professional managerial class people pretend to understand this. That politics is mostly local, fam. Another reason why it's ridiculous to say Democrats are lesser to evil when you see what Democrats do to our communities, like increasing the police state, siding with real estate development companies to make housing unaffordable, for example. Now, for the people who usually that advocate against organizing with people you disagree with, conservatives, they use the red, brown line smear tactic. Jimmy and CJ, I noticed something. I will always look at their location, and these motherfuckers will always be in New York and California.
On the coast.
They will be in deep blue areas saying stuff like, you should never organize with conservatives. Deeply unserious. So, fam, you guys know where I live? I live next to Joplin. In Joplin, there were sightings of KKK a few years ago. One of the most conservative districts. I'm just outside of Kansas City. I live in a red state surrounded by conservatives and social conservatives. I refuse to let these shit libs who live in blue areas tell me it's somehow morally wrong to work with my neighbors for the betterment of humanity. I will die on this hill, and I will take these morons to the grave fighting with me. Because I have cousins and uncles. I was at a family gathering, and I was talking to one of my cousins, a childhood friend I ain't seen for a long time. She's extremely religious, and then she said something that will get her canceled on the left regarding pronouns because she's religious. She's socially conservative. Fam, you understand I'm surrounded by those people? And I did a mutual aid drive. If I had your ideology, I'm turning everyone away when I'm giving away diapers. I got a coat drive. People are like, hey, Nick, I want to donate to your mutual aid. Hey, do you believe that? How many genders are there? Will your stance on pronouns? That's fucking ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing to say to people who live in red states, people who have conservatives they got organized around. If you have the ideology of Code Pink, how does a socialist in Tennessee organize? See, you guys see how this stuff they don't think about? Go ahead, Jimmy. I know you want to chime in. I'm done.
So what that is they're reinforcing the Democratic narrative and the establishment oligarchy narrative that the person who your enemy is your neighbor and not the establishment. They want you to turn on your neighbor and keep you distracted by hating your neighbor. Hey, Trump voters aren't keeping you from healthcare. Trump voters don't want to fund the Ukraine war. Trump voters aren't your enemy. They're the ones who were completely wiped out by the lockdowns during COVID, just like everybody else. They did a controlled demolition of our economy, and they want me to blame my neighbor for the pain I'm feeling economically because they wouldn't take a vaccine that didn't work the way they said it did in the first place. Well, I'm not going to blame my neighbor. I'm going to join with my neighbor against the oligarchy because that's the only thing that scares the oligarchy. And as soon as you talk about joining across political lines and organizing along class lines, that's when they turn on you. They say red-brown alliance, you're working with the bad people, you're not supposed to work, because that's the only thing that scares the hell out of the establishment when they see people from the left and the right coming and coalescing around a common idea. I remember when Jay Buffon told me that when we should go to the rage against the war machine, even if those people who are speaking there weren't for LGBTQ rights. He said the way you get them to be for that is you engage them, and then they see that what they think about you is actually propaganda because they get to meet you on a one-to-one, and that's how you turn people, and that's how you bring people over to your side, not by demonizing them, not by apologizing for taking a picture with them when you agree on the same ideas. That's exactly the wrong strategy. And I'm not going to hate my neighbor. I'm not going to blame other people without power. I'm going to keep my eye on the powerful. I'm going to keep my eye on the oligarchs and the politicians, and I'm going to join with my neighbor because that's the only thing that scares them. You're 100% right, Nick.
CJ Pastor, I know it went long, but I know you got a lot to think about.
It's not a lot. I do want because this is some sort of breaking news, and I'm sure you've seen this, Jimmy, but Cornel West is going to be leaving or is leaving the Green Party and moving over to run as an independent candidate. And I do want to kind of get your thoughts on a couple of things here. Now, necessarily, we don't disagree, or I don't disagree that you run independent, as long as you're not running red or blue, like anything outside of the duopoly, which we advocate for post duopoly, I'm completely fine with. So when RFK is saying that the news came out that he's going to be announced on the 9th that he's moving from the Democratic Party to the Independent, that is fantastic news right there. But when Cornel West says, I'm leaving the Green Party and all the ballot access they have to go independent, to me, that's a little bit more suspicious, Jimmy. So, one, have you heard the news? And then what is just sort of your initial reaction to him leaving the Green Party to run as an independent? That's Cornel West we're speaking about.
My initial reaction when I heard about it was that there must be some kind of conspiracy to make me look like a genius. And and I'll welcome it. So when I told you, Nick, after Cornel came on my show that he's not really running for president, I don't know what he's doing, but he's not running for president. And this just solidifies that he's not really running for president. Again, I don't know exactly what he's doing. I'm not in his mind, but what he just did was basically quit the race because he's got no plan to get ballot access. He's not going to build off. The Green Party has people in every state who know how to get ballot access, and he doesn't want to work with them. So basically, what it looked like to me was that what Peter Daou is an infiltrator from the DNC and the establishment. He works for the oligarchy and the Clinton Foundation and the Clintons, and so either he sabotaged it. I'm not supposed to say that he has advisors, even though he has advisors. It's bad for me to say that, I guess. And so he's getting bad advice once again, and they're there to. Peter Daou is a cancer, and now we're seeing the first tumor materialize, and here it is. And so Cornel West just basically took himself out of the election, and so now his campaign is a joke, and it's unbelievable that they're doing this with a straight face. And then now Jill Stein says she's going to run, and
I'm loving that.
And so she's also suspect because we all know she lied when she said she didn't know who Peter Daou was in 2016. That's just a blatant lie. And this is all, we all know the Green Party is controlled opposition. They're infiltrated. And so that's what this is. And so I don't know what Cornel West thinks he's doing, but it doesn't pass the smell test. And he's not really running for president. In fact, I just saw a video where he said he's going to get guaranteed 30 states. He's going to get on the ballot in 30 states. Well, that means you're guaranteed to lose. And I'm going to bet those states he's not going to get on the ballot are going to be the swing states. Mark my words, he's not going to get on the ballot in swing states. And if he does, he'll drop out. There's no way. So this is just revealing again that my sniffer was correct. My bullshit detector went off when he came on my show. He's not really running for president, and this just solidifies that. And it breaks my heart because I was a big fan of Cornel West. I thought he could have made a big dent, but he's running this campaign and ran this campaign in a way to make sure he doesn't make a dent and to make sure he's not a threat to Biden and the establishment. That's the way he's running this campaign. It seems obvious to me, and every day I'm proven correct.
And I can't disagree more. And that is actually the assessment I gave yesterday. But let me read the tweet for those that may be listening only. What we're talking about on the screen is this is Peter Daou announcing with Cornel West that they're making this change. And I'll just read what Peter Daou wrote. Cornel West is running as an independent. There is no true democracy in America when two ruling parties actively work to prevent voters from having a choice. Would you accept a restaurant with only 2 rotten items on the menu? Of course not. Fight for justice by fighting the duopoly, that's the end of the tweet, which he was already doing, Peter, with the Green Party. Now, again, not necessarily green, independent, that's all great. But if you're looking strategy-wise and how to affect change, how to affect the duopoly, how to draw the most people out, it is on the Green Party. Even if you're talking about building a movement, because think about this, Jimmy and Nick, when you're building a movement, would it be advantageous to have somebody in your state running in that party, or would it not be? For example, Claudia de la Cruz, Nick, you can't vote for her. Now, if she's trying to build a movement, she can still do that. But it would be way better if she was on the ballot in Missouri while trying to build that movement. And that's the point that I'm making about the Green Party. So whether you think you're trying to win or whether you think, no, this is just movement building, to me, it's still a logical, strategic advantage to be on more ballots. Now, he may get on 30 ballots with the independent, but he was already on 18, 3 of which were already swing states, Michigan, and I think Wisconsin or North Carolina, and then a third state, he's already on. And then the last 2 elections, the Green Party has been on 40 plus states or more. In 2016, I think it was 44 or 48 or something like that. So you have to ask yourself, and this is what Due Dissident says, why would somebody do this unless you got a call or something, and now you are afraid. You are afraid of doing this, and this is your out. So, Jimmy, I don't know if you've covered this live yet, but could you kind of give a more of an analysis of, do you think, or at this question, do you think Cornel West was easily persuaded already, or do you think sort of Peter Daou was the one that kind of really pushed him over the edge, or he was already Humpty Dumpty on the ledge and he just needed a nudge to kind of get over out of this real fight. Because this is really bowing out, in my opinion, of a real fight to challenge power.
I already told you when he came on my show, it didn't feel like he was serious then because he wasn't going for my vote. He wasn't trying to get my viewers' votes. He wasn't trying to garner and create a coalition of people to fight back against. He was running a boutique niche political campaign, and he still is. It's even more niche now. So I don't think he was serious. I don't know what the point of his campaign is, and nobody else can tell me what it is either. It certainly isn't running for president. So I'll just leave it there. And Peter Daou is definitely a cancer. He's definitely an infiltrator. And the idea that he changed. You can change. I didn't dislike Peter Daou because I didn't agree with him politically. I had an allergic reaction to Peter Daou because he has no integrity and he's proven that he's a paid henchman liar and he'll smear anybody for money. So he didn't reform his integrity. He didn't reform his character. The guy's the scum of the earth, the bottom. He's what's wrong with politics. And so to pretend like because now he says he's a progressive, that somehow he's a good guy who should run Cornel West's campaign is a joke. Of course not. If Nara Tanden said she was on board for progressive politics, would you have her run your campaign? So that just shows that Cornel West's campaign is deeply unserious, deeply out of touch, and it's there to divide the left, and that's what it's doing right now.
It is. Ever since let me just say this. It's not a question. Ever since that interview, it's just been I don't understand what has happened in the last 2 weeks, but it's just, I don't know. But it's ever since that interview, it's just been, wow, just bad decision after another. But Nick, go ahead if you had a question, but I'm done with my part, but go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. I'll comment on this real quick while I find what I'm looking for. Well, I feel like this is very depressing for me to see this. Very sad. It was like this had such a big potential for third-party movement building, but seeing everything that happened now, I feel like we're skipping steps as a movement.
Yes.
And I'm gonna explain what I mean when I say that. The excuse I heard for hiring Peter Daou is, oh well, we can't find anyone else. The fuck are you talking about? Why are we? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, and I explained to you guys my vision last stream. Like, we need to be building mutual aid societies. I'm about to ask Jimmy about revolutionary very soon, but we need to be building mutual aid societies. We need to build an outside coalition of workers ready to address people's material needs that's built from the ground up, horizontal movement. So just looking and doing a PMC job search for the people who are going to run the movement is not what I'm personally looking for, right? And it seems with all these missteps, it seems like we're skipping steps. We're not building the movement the way it's supposed to be doing. This is what we've been saying from day one. And I had to say my brother Rome is right, man. We can't be looking towards these politicians and the PMC left to generally save us. We need to do the work ourselves. We can't skip steps. And I feel like that is what a lot of people are hoping to do. They're still way too invested in Dr. Cornel West, RFK Jr., anybody. They just fucking trying to skip steps. And I wish I can say that this campaign is going to lead to something great, but I don't think it will now, especially after this latest move. Any last thoughts? CJ, I'm trying to see.
No, I'm done. So we can get Jimmy. You can go ahead with yours and we can get him out of here.
I just would feel a lot better if Cornel West was surrounded by people like Shama Sawant and Breonna Joy Gray and union activists and things like that. But he's not. He's surrounded himself with infiltrators and liars, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So what? The last thing I want to ask you, and we get you out here. I appreciate you being flexible and making it. It was a great conversation. Always have you guys. Great to have you on. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed this thus far. But one of the reasons why I don't listen to the ops that try to divide RBN and Jimmy Dore, because for one, Jimmy generally shows up for the movement, and unlike almost literally every other major white leftist channel, he actually covers police violence, and he's not calling for bullshit incrementalism. The people who was calling for political revolution during 2018, 2020, they became the biggest pushers of incrementalism. And it drives me crazy. You guys see all the videos we do criticizing them. I just want to get your thoughts on this. I think it's a good way to end it. And this is response to Bernie being a sellout as he always is. And I'll read the tweet because the end is what I find interesting. I want to ask you about. You can riff on whatever, but this is your response to Bernie calling for Ukraine funding. You say Bernie now is the face of evil, willing face of evil. I honestly can't do the mental gymnastics it's required to not to be sick to my stomach at the sight or mention of him. Can you imagine working for him now as he does this? He slanders peace activists for fuck's sakes. He not only sided with actual Hitler Nazis now, he's funding them. He's calling Trump corrupt while he's funding Hitler Nazis and the slaughter of hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians. I honestly can't wrap my head around the evils he's willing and happily perpetuating on the world, not even a little. Imagine if he told the truth about Ukraine, it will change everything. Now, this is the analysis that we was kind of playing before. Now, this is the last part I kind of want to ask you about, and I just want to pick your brain and what you would like to see for the left engage in. Because the last part you said, I honestly just can't anymore. I really want to find a way to start an actual revolution or be as big a part of one as I can. You helped run with library. You helped those. You showed at the General Strike Summit. So I just want to get your thoughts on what you want to see out of the left moving forward and what you view the revolution possibly being, if you have answered that. Do you want to take that on, Jimmy?
I just point to stuff like Christian Smalls, and I point to the truckers in Canada. That's the only thing that scares the establishment is people coming together along class lines to oppose the oligarchy. And if we can find a way to do that in the United States, they'll immediately call it white supremacists. They'll immediately call it Nazis. They'll immediately call it terrorists. They're calling Matt Gaetz a terrorist for doing what he did. They're literally saying that he's a terrorist. So, and they're trying to get him thrown out of Congress. So that's what we're going to be up against. They're going to jail us. They're going to surveil us. They're going to shut down our bank accounts. So I think we need to find a way. And if it was a trucker coalition and started by real union activists, that's the kind of thing we need. And the only thing they respond to is if you find a way to put a hurt on them. And the way you put a hurt on them is to find a way to shut down capitalism. And that's what we need to do. And I'm all for it 100%. I'll get in the streets. I'll use my platform to push it. I'll do whatever I can. Of course, they'll take down my channel or whatever they do, they'll do to me. But if that's a chance that we can actually have real revolution in this country, I'm all for it. And once the people get out in front, then the politicians will follow because they're not leaders. The politicians are mediocre liars who are self-interested actors. That's been proven time and time again. And the biggest liars that I've seen lately are Bernie Sanders and the progressives that call themselves progressives. So we need to find a way to start a real revolution. The way you do that is what the truckers did in Canada and what Christian Smalls did. You organize along class lines and you put a hurt on capitalism. That's the only thing that works.
That's what I like to hear, Elise. CJ, any response? Anything you want to add? Anything else you want to add to this before we get?
No, you can go because I like this. I do want to give Jimmy the opportunity, to get out of here on time. I think he's reached his location. It doesn't look like he's driving anymore. I don't want him just sitting in the car. So let's get him out of here. But go ahead.
I just want to show you guys this real quick because you guys saw Jimmy's rant that led to him saying wanting the revolution, which is much better than what you hear from people with MSNBC contracts, right? These motherfuckers are Biden voters. Oh, we gotta vote Biden. The biggest nihilists in politics are the Kyle and Crystals, who are now switching on their positions. They seen through the establishment. Now they sweet naive children no more. Anyway, I'm showing you guys this funny cartoon. Medea Benjamin is not letting Bernie Sanders forget him getting her people arrested. Anyway, I just want to share that cartoon. Thank you, Jimmy, for joining us. Once again, always fun to have you on. Any last words you have? Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to promote? Always great to have you on RBN.
No, it's great to be back on your show. I appreciate you guys telling the truth and holding politicians, no matter who the politician is, you hold their feet to the fire. They're supposed to come and ask for your vote. And people like to say the craziest things about, like they go, oh, you're upset at this politician because they don't think that your big issue is important. Yes. That's what I'm supposed
Yes.
to fucking do.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to try to impress upon the politician what I care about. And they're supposed to, if they don't really believe that what I'm saying is important, they're supposed to make me feel like he believes or they believe what I'm saying. That's how politics works. Politics isn't I bend the knee to the goddamn politician. The politics is the politician comes and finds a way to get my vote. That's how politics works, not the other way around. So I just want to leave it there.
Amen.
Yeah, well said.
All
Thank you
right.
for joining, Jimmy.
Okay.
I'm gonna pop you in the back. I have time to get some super chats, and I got dip. See, y'all know I don't know exactly your plans.
I'm probably leaving. I might leave mid super chats because I gotta go pick up my daughter in like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
but let's see how the super chats
I'll make
go.
sure. I make sure I finish it. But I think it was a great show. I think we had a generally pretty good week. Aaron Good was on.
Oh yeah,
yesterday. He was on Nick at Night. We had RBN Super Show on Thursday. Great show Friday with Jimmy. Always fun ranting, riffing with Jimmy. Thanks for the $5, Roger.
Don't forget, Sabby October 13th covered the rally or the march.
Yeah, so much stuff happened this week.
Yeah,
and then JB had Richard Medhurst on as well.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
RBN Network, man, we firing all cylinders. I love to see it, man. This is the vision that we had a long time ago. It's good to see that it's starting to come together, especially with the RBN chapters. The fact that we give people something physically, tangibly to do. I just love everything that's happening. Thank you for the $5, Roger. If you believe in horizontalism and ground movements, then running citizen ballot initiatives pushed as amendments, not law, plus W course must be at its core. Yeah, I'm a big fan of ballot initiatives. That's how we got affordable housing in Missouri. We got a Medicare expansion in Missouri. We had a minimum wage increase. We had legal marijuana. And literally a lot more of the stuff I'm not even remembering, just on top of my head, came from ballot initiatives. So if you live in a state that don't have ballot initiatives, guess what your number one priority is right now? You shouldn't be doing shit regarding electoral politics until you got ballot initiatives available. You guys need to start moving. We're not voting for any politicians until we get ballot initiatives. Whatever it takes. Because that's when I say there's 15% that we need to invest in electoral politics, that's like 90% of that 15 is ballot initiatives. Because technically that's electoralism, right? Thank you for $5. I'll try to move through these. I know you gotta go here soon, CJ. Thank you for $5. Just like with Bernie allowing the squad and Biden behind UAW lines, the progressive wing is a Trojan horse. Oh yeah, Peter Daou is cancer. That's all. That's why I don't understand, man. Because I was like one of the only people who criticized the Sunrise Movement for having AOC speak at their event. Remember that, CJ?
Mm-hmm.
I was like the only one that was other people followed me like after I was saying it, but people look at me like, well, yeah, of course we have AOC at our event, but AOC has a horrible climate record. She voted for the Ukraine war packages. She supported the Nord Stream pipeline bomber. So you guys invite her to the climate event despite her record, but you guys reject Marjorie Taylor Greene when she agreed with you on Ukraine. I'm so fucking done with these dumbass leftists. I am like RBN. We on our own. Like we starting our chapters. If you want to fucking help, if you want to help us, you want to help me organize. That's good. I am literally disavowing. I'm fucking done with these intellectually lazy, stupid fucking leftists who just want to lose because they want to be in high school again.
Let me shout this out before I go. I'm gonna go. I do want to shout this out before we fall below 1,000 people watching. Yeah. Make sure you go to our website. We now have merchandise. This is an example. Sweaters. We got tote bags. We got mugs. It's 11 designs. These 11 designs you can get on a tote bag. You can get on a mug. You can get on a sweater, a shirt, a tank, different items to choose from. This is just a sweater. This one says vote blue no matter who is for morons. And then you can get it in different colors. We got so many different sort of phrasings. I'm sure you will like. They're all sort of anti-establishment phrasing. So make sure you check that out, Nick. I just wanted to make sure I shouted that out before we fell below 1,000.
I need to start shouting that out on my show. I still need to get my stuff too because I'm definitely getting a NATO as a terrorist organization.
Yeah, we saw that picture of the customer. You saw a picture from a viewer that posted it. So thank you for that. All right,
we already got people,
I'm gonna take off. I'll let you finish up. Sorry about that, Nick.
No problems. Yeah, it's great that we already got a ton of people posting pictures of them with the merch. I'm super excited to have some so I can wear some on stream. A big shout out to Marks and Saul. Email us info@Red Black Network. God damn it, CJ has the email. But email me and anyone in the Kansas City area who wants to get involved with my mutual aid organization I've started. hit me up. Hit me up. I have a new event I'm starting in a few weeks where I'm trying to help get winter coats and other winter supplies for disenfranchised children. So I'm gonna need a lot of help with that. It's gonna be a lot of work to try to get that done, but I'm up for the challenge. So if you're in Kansas City, hit me up, man. I'm down to meet anybody in the area who want to help. I'm still blown away. The last two events I held in Kansas City, I met RBN people and that watch the show. It's always great. It's all literally it never fails to be a good experience to meet you guys helping us. Like JB said the same thing, CJ said the same thing, Savvy said the same thing when they started the organizations. So if you in Kansas City, hit me the fuck up. Hit me the fuck up. I want to make sure I finish all the super chats. Thank you guys for enjoying the show. Stay for the Q&A if you want to. Make sure you guys support the Patreon and help us grow so we can continue to provide great content and also pay our employees like Aaron their fair labor value. That's what we value as an organization, but we can only do that if we have funds, right? Thank you for the 199 meteor dreams. Franco Espeleta exposed y'all race and gender matter. I'm sure that person is shit lip. Not worried about it. There are a lot of people upset at us, but they never invite me to debate. They don't want that funk. They don't want that funk. I promise you. So people are gonna make diss tracks. That's in their right. I'm not above criticism. I take criticism. That's okay. But I'm pretty confident in my beliefs. They can make diss tracks. I think my politics uphold. Thanks for the 499, John. Joe Stein on Sabby last night kept referring to the West and making decisions. So it sounded like Cornel, his wife, and Peter are making decisions. I said this before, but I'm a big advocate of leaderless movements. So when Dr. Cornel West has this like ego where you don't want to accept advisors and help, I'm like, that's not the way. I believe in horizontal movements where the people who do step up, they need to be rigorously held accountable. That's why I don't cry when people roast me in the chat. If someone will make a diss track on me, if someone want to smear me, that's okay, man. I'm elevated as someone that is worthy of criticism. So that's everyone in leadership positions will take that. I have my mutual aid organization. I co-founded 10 Demands, co-founded RBN. I'm gonna take heat, and I'm gonna take that heat on the chin. You guys see, I never fucking falter. Never fucking falter. I don't give a fuck, man. Any good critique of me is only gonna make me better. And if you're not a leader that has that same mindset, then fucking I don't care. We hurt your feelings in general. I think for the 499, helpful harm. Hillstein had to know Peter Day was canceled. Peter Dow probably. She's not stupid. She must have hurt the campaign on purpose. Her interview on Savvy was such too. I seen only like 10 or so minutes. I was very busy the last few days, so I got finished that the interview. I'm trying to find some more. All right, let me all right, there you go. There it is. Thanks for 199. Jimmy is mad West didn't want him as an advisor. I think that's fair to be mad at that. If you want to influence a politician, follow your direction, and they reject you, you got the right to be upset with that. I was upset because Jimmy Dore read my tweet on his show while interviewing Dr. West, and Dr. West said he don't agree with my position, right? So I was upset because Dr. West kind of disavowed my position on the show, and I'm allowed to have that position. Like, you guys understand how this works? If a politician doesn't follow your direction, you're allowed to get upset at them. It's not, you are not owed loyalty to anybody. So if you think that Jimmy is wrong to ask to be advisor, okay, that's your opinion. But Jimmy is right to be upset if Cornel West says no. That's how life works. Like, it's very weird that I explain how basic life and social activity works to people. If you get rejected, you're allowed to be upset. The fact that Dr. Cornel West won't listen to us, he won't listen to my argument regarding why Biden's a fascist, I am allowed to be upset about that. Right? Decolonize your mind, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for $10, Sarah. I'd rather have single payer health care than have Gates own the squad and show them how the willpower, the vindication is a bitter salve. If I understand what I think you're saying, it's kind of a long show, kind of stone. Yeah, I told you guys many times. I don't want to do anti-Bernie and AOC videos, this is what I think you're talking about. My main misread. I do them because they are such a disappointment. You know how much I would rather do a video like, man, AOC called out Biden. AOC is resisting the Ukraine war. Man, isn't it great that AOC was marching with Medicare for All activists, right? I want to do those videos. They force my fucking hands. I want to do videos talking about how the PMC is giving shit right, but they don't. I don't know if I interpreted your comment right, but I don't want politics to be the way it is right now. I have my politics and my analysis that I do because of the politics that we are in. I wish I can just say had nothing but a fucking positive fucking PG Disney channel, like political channel, rah shit. I wish, man. That's not the reality. We have massive sellouts like Bernie Sanders. We had the Black Congressional Caucus selling us out. We had the PMC laying workers off a cliff. There's a lot of shit going on right now, and there need to be anger that will drive people towards activism. I don't know if I interpreted your comment right, but that's my rant on that. Man, there are a lot of comments coming in. I kind of want to read them all. Thank you for the membership, Darren. And yes, we had Steph. He said, any chance we get a Steph cameo on RBN? Absolutely. We had Steph on for the General Strike Summit. Sabby had Steph on for the Women's Summit. So it's definitely been too long. Steph, if you watch this, we definitely love to have you on. Steph has always been nothing but kind to me. Like, Steph is a very kind person, like very great person to talk to as well. So I would love to have Steph on the show. Great person. I was on Jimmy's show a few times. Every interaction I have with Steph is extremely wholesome. Very great person. A lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people know that. Very great person. Thank for the $19. Thank for Super Sticker Butterfly. And I think Steph was like one of the first people that followed me, even when I was like just a small activist account. Always been based as hell. Steph always been based. Thank for 999. That's a good idea. I definitely need to have maybe Steph on Nick at night. Thank for 999. Neutron, love this. RBN and Jimmy Dore are my favorite go-to channels. GOAT recognized GOAT. Need more of this. Happy Friday, y'all. We generally have Jimmy maybe on like 2-3 times every 3 months or so. Maybe that's generally how we do it. Always good to chat with them. Like Jimmy's like one of the few people that will have on that could easily match my anger and my ability to rant. Big shout out to my friend Misty Winston, Comrade Misty. Comrade Misty and Jimmy Dore are probably the two people that's the funnest to rant with. Like there's some guests, I don't want to say any names, but there's some guests you kind of gotta hold their hands on the show, especially if you go like over an hour. But with people like Jimmy and with my friend Comrade Misty, you just flow anything to them. They off to the races. It's always fun to show with them. Thanks for let me move on to the next one. Thanks for $10 Sarah again. Chunk Props, Operation Mockingbird, Seek Nico's Candy, Free Beacon article. I definitely would check that out. Another one. Big shout for John. Thanks for 1999. Democrats equals PMC castration vibration. Absolutely. So I think this is the first super chat of the day. So I think we are done. I hope you guys enjoyed the last two shows have been really good. The RBN Super Show yesterday. We had a great show with Jimmy today. And we'll be back on Monday. CJ's a madman. This motherfucker go live almost every day at this point. So you may see CJ again, but I'll see you guys on Monday. I'll have another hotspot short video coming out soon. So keep on out for that. So make sure you guys support us on Patreon. Appreciate you guys for watching us. Have a good one, my friends.